Hi and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, well, we've got some breaking news for you. Kyosho are bringing out a vintage re-release buggy, but yet something new. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. There's hardly any information about it. It was dropped yesterday by Big Squid RC. But I've kind of waited till today to make a video as I was hoping more bits and pieces will come out, as when I've rushed to put videos out, more information usually falls out, but there's still not a lot about it. So it's called the Kyosho 1/10 Ultima SB Dirt Master 2-wheel drive buggy. So it is a vintage looking buggy and it is a vintage chassis as well. Apparently, it's actually based on the RB5. Now, the RB5 came out back in 2007. Now, it says based on, but we've got no information yet on whether it's been modified or changed or whether there's different plastics. It was a carbon composite chassis, so whether they've stayed with that. One thing that is different is, going by the one image that we have of the car, is it has plastic dampers. Now, the RB5 came with aluminium ones back in the day. So I'm guessing what you'll probably see is an upgrade availability coming that you can actually buy alloy shocks for them. I mean, this kind of makes sense for Kyosho. They might have already had the molds. It's kind of vintage at 2007 and they've just changed the body shell and maybe changed one or two bits. So quite an easy one to put out. Now, one thing that really excites me about this is we've seen this being done by G-Force with the Genova that came out in 2022. So it's basically a vintage looking buggy, but it was never released before. So do you think Kyosho have seen this in Japan? Because obviously the Genova only came out in Japan and saw how well it's been doing and thought, let's do that. So they've taken an old vintage buggy, put a new body on it and are going to bring it out. I honestly don't know. And it's fascinating because is this beginning of what we're seeing companies producing vintage yet new releases? Now, the Genova has been really embraced. A lot of people really like it, and unfortunately the only downside is you can only get it in Japan, but everybody that's managed to import one into their own countries really like them. So I'm seeing lots of positive reviews from people that have actually taken them racing, people that have had them into their collection, drive them in the garden. So is this Kyosho's attempt to kind of do the same thing? Price-wise, it's looking at around $230. Well, that's £230 these days, isn't it? But price-wise, that's pretty good, so no issues there. Now, the ETA is March, but I would take all of that with a pinch of salt, as we literally don't have much information, and we're just going to have to wait and see, and we can't even see inside the chassis or anything yet. It's just one basic image, but the image tells us it is a good looking buggy, and I'm hoping it's going to be as successful as the G-Force Genova, and maybe this is the start of something completely new. So comment below, let me know what you think. Do you think this is a total waste of time because you won't be able to race it in vintage classes, but you also couldn't take it to the track and race it against modern racing buggies because it just wouldn't compete? Are we going to see a new racing sort of group? You know, will it be bolted onto vintage racing that you'll also have vintage style but new buggies? I honestly don't know. It's all a bit, and we've only seen two like that, but I have to say I am a massive fan of the Genova. Now, personally, I love modern chassis. You know, the X-rays, the sort of real racing stuff, but I cannot get past the front cab forward, ugly as sin. And I must admit, I have personally thought about taking one of those and just putting an older design cab back body on it. So hopefully maybe it's going to finally change that cab forward design. I honestly don't know. Now, does anybody collect older racing buggies that are cab forward? Comment below, let me know if you're one of those people. Because the other thing is that, I mean, a lot of you comment that you don't like the cab forward. Also, I would love to see a professional racer race a chassis around a track with a cab forward body and another one with a cab back. And I'd love to see what the actual times are. Is it going to be slower with a vintage body design on it? Because a lot of people, you know, it's not just about how it performs, unless you're an out-and-out racer. A lot of people like to have a car that's really beautiful, and the old vintage ones are stunning. These are some of the best looking buggies there is today. So wouldn't it be nice if you could finally get rid of that cab forward? Now, obviously, there's going to have to have been some changes to the chassis because the original car back in 2007 was capable of brushless. But whether they've actually changed any of the driveline to deal with the big KVs that we see now, I honestly don't know. The batteries, jumping away from the 6-cell to an actual shorty LiPo, obviously they're going to have to do some modifications to change that tub chassis. But until we get to see it, we don't know if it's going to be along the backbone or whether they're going to turn it sideways and have it going across the back axle area. We'll just have to wait and see. But I promise you I will be getting one on the show. Now, we don't know whether it's going to be a kit, it's going to be a part built like the Genova, or it's going to come as a ready to run. Now, the RB5 was a kit, so fingers crossed it's going to be a kit. Worst case scenario, part built, but a kit would be definitely the way to go. An option to do a ready to run later would be perfectly fine if it's successful, but for a lot of people and a lot of fans who watch the show, I think we all kind of keep our fingers crossed that it is an actual kit. So there you go, that's pretty much all I've got currently. I'll just have to keep my fingers crossed that we get some more information soon, and hopefully this is the beginning of something a bit different.